Our main presenter is David Pelgrinelli. He is a president of AFS, licensed private investigator, board of directors of NALTIA, which is the National Association of Land Title Examiners and Abstractors. He's been an expert witness for the Department of Justice, so he's a really great expert in the field to help us out here. So, Dave, take it away.
Thanks, Dave. Good morning, everybody. Appreciate you having the opportunity to talk to each of you. We're going to go through some basics of what a title search is, and most importantly, why it's valuable to the insurance claims professional. And then the last question is, what do you look for on a title search? What do you use the different aspects of a title search for, and how it can be used on the claims process? I'm going to ask also Dave and Carol, both of you could mute your mics. There's some background noise that I'd like to eliminate. So Dave and Carol, if you can both mute your microphones. The first thing is, what is a title search? A title search in a professional use is not an electronic search. It's not a database search. It's actually a process of retrieving actual physical paper documents from land records offices. Title records are kept in paper format. They're hard copy documents. Each event in the history of that property, a transfer, a mortgage, a lien, is a piece of paper that's signed evidencing that event, and it's recorded in different locations at the city, county, state, and federal level. And a title search is the process of retrieving each one of those pieces of paper and then creating the certified title abstract. That's the official document of a title search. It's done by a title abstractor, visiting all those physical locations in person, and then creating that document. So let's jump to the next slide and take a look. What are the 5 most common reasons why a title search is performed for the insurance claims industry? First is to verify ownership, to make sure that the insured is the owner of the property and has an insurable interest in that property. In this day and age of short sales, foreclosures, and other even quitclaim deeds, your insured may have not had insurable interest or ownership in that property at the time of the loss, so verifying that they're still the owner. Making sure that if it's a commercial property that the right entity owns the property and it's not a different corporation. Number 2 is to see if there's any mortgage encumbrances, to see if there's any lenders that have a significant interest in the property. There may be an additional insured, additional loss payee on the policy, and you want to make sure it's the same lender which is currently on title. A refinance would change the lender, and that may not be reflected in underwriting. Even a mortgage release or mortgage assignments from one lender to another might change the additional insured or additional loss payee. So those are things that may be reflected at the original underwriting, but over the course of ownership of that property might have had changes during the course of that, that policy being in place. Number 3 is to discover liens. Are there any major lien holders that have claim to the property? It could be an IRS tax lien, might be a mechanics lien. Those are important items to consider in handling that claim. It may not change payout of the claim, but it may involve, if it's a significant enough lien, the lien holder being part of that claims process to make sure that their interest is handled. Also, if it's a mechanics lien, sometimes that might indicate recent repairs or recent work on the property, recent upgrades. Sometimes that affects the claim because it may be the origin of the claim. Number 4 is to look for third-party interests. Are there other co-owners of the property, people who have come on title during the ownership and have had, may have an interest in the property? Sometimes those third-party interests have their own policies on the property. We've seen examples where additional owners have come on title since original underwriting, and they have their own insurance policies, which may give an opportunity for subrogation, or that insurance might be even in place on top of the covered policy that's being handled in the claim adjustment. And number 5, evidence of fraud. Is there any recent activity that could indicate fraud? Are there significant judgments, liens that may be expanding that claim where the original damage was a certain amount and the claim is expanded because of fraud? The bottom line is that you want to avoid having to write that check twice, where you write it to one party and then come to find out somebody else has an interest in the property. I'm going to repeat too, if Dave and Carol, if you could both check your microphones. I'm getting background noise from somebody's office, so if Dave and Carol, both you could mute your microphones and make sure that's done so we don't get that background noise, that'd be great. So this is what a title search looks like. The official land records are paper, documents, and books. They're recorded in chronological order. What that means is when a document is brought to the land records office for recording, it's put in the book in the order it's presented to that clerk. So let's say a document is brought in for 12 Main Street. It goes in a book on a certain page. And then if 5 minutes later another document is brought in for 14 Oak Street, that'll go in to the land records at the next page. It won't be grouped by property. It won't even be grouped by owner name. It'll be grouped how it comes into the land record. So to find the documents for a particular property, you start out with the name index and then find what books and pages have those documents. So we may have to go up and down these rows like you see in this picture of files and books until we can pull out all those records that may have included events in the history of that property. That's the first step. So let's jump to the next slide, which shows the title search process. The title search process is 10 or 15 steps, and it starts with the incoming inquiry. That's where you as a claims professional will submit to us the property address, maybe the legal description, something that identifies that particular piece of real estate. And we start by preparing the investigation. We determine what county it's located in, where the records are going to be held, and we get an idea of where we start to describe that ownership. You may have an insured's name. If not, we can look up the ownership possibilities from the assessor's records. From there, we're going to source the documents. We're going to find out where are all the 4 or 5 locations that need to be visited for that property. If it's in most states, that's going to be at the county level. There's 4 locations at the county level: the tax assessors, the clerk of recorder, the civil court judgment records, and then the probate records. Each one is a separate courthouse at maximum. Sometimes it's in the same building but different offices, but usually they're separate buildings altogether. And each one of those locations may have documents that could go into the title. At the state level, there's also the Secretary of State, which may have UCC records that may need to be looked at. Number 5 is document retrieval. That's where we will visit those 5 locations and pull all of the records that correspond with that name and that property. Usually at each location there's 50 or so documents need to be pulled. There could be an old mortgage, could be old liens. Every document, every record that could pertain to that property is pulled to begin with, and then from there we go to the abstracting phase. That's where each one of those pieces of paper is read front to back. Each page is read to see what it actually means, what are the effects on title from that mortgage, lien, judgment, deed, whatever the case may be. And then the certified title examiner will create that official title abstract. That's where one mortgage is canceled out by one release document, or a lien is canceled out by an assignment, or whatever the case may be. And then the official title abstract will list what is remaining on that property, what has standing on that property, and what is the order of priority for those claims. Once the certified title abstract is created, it goes to quality review, and the certified title examiner will take a look at it to make sure that all the important elements of the search are there, that the legal description matches up on all the documents, that the names have all been checked properly, and then it's delivered to you, the client. It's scanned into a PDF file. Usually a title abstract is 7 to 9 pages, and it's scanned to a PDF file and then sent to you by email. Of course, for follow-up, we have a customer relations department set up specifically for the professional claims industry. So if you have a question when you receive your search, you can call us up and we can pull it up on our screen. What does it look like? Well, here is an example of a title search. It's got 4 main sections. The first one is the ownership information. Next one is the tax information. Then you'll have open mortgages, liens, and other information, and we'll go through those one by one. Let's look at the next slide. The ownership section is important to look at for a claims use to make sure that the property address is the same that's on the policy. We've had some where the address is similar, but at the same address there are two legal parcels, and we make sure that the legal parcel that is performed on the search matches up with, you can make sure it matches up with your claim. We've had situations where we run a title search on the insured property and come to find out it's different from where the loss occurred. The loss may have occurred on that property but not on the legal section where the coverage was in place. Is your insured still currently on title? Was there a foreclosure or quitclaim? Is the policyholder fully vested? Are there other owners involved? And if they are, what is their interest in the property? Are there any name variations? In many cases, if a person has been married, divorced, sometimes there's a trust that's been put as a vested owner of the property. On commercial properties, there may be different legal entities, different LLCs, different corporations that may own it, and you can match that up with your underwriting to make sure that your insured actually owns the property. And along with the ownership information, you're going to see that the current deed will be listed as backup. That'll show you when the owner took title, what the date of that title transfer was, the instrument book and page number, and what type of deed it was. Was it a warranty deed, a quitclaim deed, a sheriff's deed, or some other type of instrument? We'll also show you the completed date of that search so you know when the active date of that title occurred. And also you'll see a date called the effective date. And what that means is at each county, when you bring a deed or mortgage or lien in for recording, they have their update of the grantor-grantee index usually around the same time. If you're bringing it for recording, they'll probably get it in their system within a day or so. But some counties, if they get backed up, will have some deeds and liens and mortgages that don't even get into their system for 3 or 4 days, maybe a week. There was the time during the foreclosure boom when some counties, notoriously Wayne County in Michigan, where Detroit is, was 8 months behind. So we'll put the effective date so you'll know how active those documents are. Let's jump to the next slide. This is the mortgage section. This is a really important section to take a look at because not only will it show who the current mortgage holder is, but it'll also show the mortgage assignment. So if, let's say, Wells Fargo originally had a mortgage, but they assigned it to Bank of America, that will be reflected. You may see Wells Fargo still as the mortgage holder on your underwriting, and the policyholder may still be paying Wells Fargo, but behind the scenes, Bank of America might be the actual lien holder. If it's been transferred through MERS, the Mortgage Electronic Registration System, we'll look into MERS so we can see if there's any assignments off title in that electronic system. We'll also look to see, is there a second mortgage? Sometimes there'll be an additional mortgage done after the underwriting, maybe a line of credit, maybe both. And we also check to see if the mortgage priority has been changed. Did the second mortgage jump in front of the first mortgage because of the recording date? And that mortgage assignment will also be reflected. Most important to see if there's any changes since the policy was underwritten. You'll know who the correct additional insured or loss payee is if that's applicable. Let's take a look at the next slide. So on the bottom of that first title abstract page will be what else is reported. You're going to see property taxes showing how much the taxes are, when they're due, and are they being paid. Sometimes you won't find a tax lien on a property until a tax account is not paid for 1 or 2 or 3 years. Some counties don't record a lien for some period of time, but the taxes may still be delinquent. That might be an important thing to know. I know that a lot of the SIU departments will take a look at that to see if a claim is being inflated or expanded. One of the red flags is, are they paying their property taxes on that piece of real estate? Are there any recorded liens, including federal tax liens? That's an important thing to look at. A federal tax lien for non-payment of income taxes is technically not a lien against the property. It's actually a judgment against the person. It's normally filed in the civil court section of the record system, not as a lien against the property. So if a title searcher is not familiar with where a tax lien is going to be recorded, they may just look at the Recorder of Deeds office, and you won't find a federal tax lien there in many counties. You're going to find it at the civil court records office, or in some states a prothonotary records, or some third area to look at in the court system. Are there any related civil judgments? Is there a small claims lawsuit pending or not? Are there any credit card lawsuits or delinquencies? We're going to look at UCC filings. Are there any business fixtures on the property? A business fixture is important to know because it may indicate a business use of that property. If somebody borrows money to buy equipment or tools and there's a UCC filing for those at that property address, that may indicate a business use. Easements on a property are a form of transfer of a right of use. It's not a transfer of the property, but for example, if somebody has a landlocked parcel that's not abutting a road and they negotiate to use a right-of-way over another property, that creates an easement. And that easement is recorded in the land records. And it's important to know because we actually discovered for a client that there was a loss which occurred because of a vehicle which impacted a structure on a property. And of course, you know, that was a payable claim, and it was investigated and handled. But as part of the title search, we discovered that the driveway where this vehicle entered from was part of an easement to use by an adjacent property owner. It created an opportunity to subrogate against that property owner because their use of the easement actually created the circumstances that caused that damage. So looking for easements is an important thing to know, and who may be egressing and ingressing that property. Are there any divorce or probate records that create co-owners or heirs to the property? That might be important to know for the claims process. And any evidence of fraud. Are there recent mortgage increases, liens, judgments, or even pay downs that happened recently on the property might be important to know about. Federal tax liens and state tax liens are very, very common on properties. Let's take a look and see if we have any questions, Dave. I don't know if you see any questions from the panelists. I know these are some of the common questions we see, but are there any other ones before I get to these?
Yeah, there are. Actually, a couple of people asked on the same topic, so I guess it's just to further explain, if you would, what MERS is.
Yeah, good question. In the late 1990s, many of the popular lenders that were big at the time discovered that they were very frequently transferring mortgages amongst themselves. So if one lender had a portfolio of loans that they wanted to sell to another lender, they would have to do a mortgage assignment document for each one of those loans. And a mortgage assignment is like any other recording, is like a deed or a lien. It has to be executed, signed, notarized, brought down to the courthouse, recorded in the land records, which incurs a fee, and it's a very complicated process. So they came up with this system of an electronic registration system where they record the original mortgage under the name of MERS, Mortgage Electronic Registration System. That's what goes on the official title. And then behind the scenes, this MERS system can transfer these mortgages back and forth between lenders without having to do a second mortgage assignment in the land records, and to save them millions of dollars in fees for recording these mortgage assignments. The complication it creates is you never know who the actual mortgage lender is behind the scenes. So on the official title records, it'll show MERS, but of course MERS isn't really a bank. They don't lend money. They don't collect payments. It's hard to find that out. So that mortgage electronic registration system had good intentions, but it did create some complications if you're in a position of needing to know who the mortgage lender is, such as in an example of the claims handling adjustment process. Hopefully that helped. Tell me what else you got, Dave.
Perfect. I do want to open it up in case anyone else has any more questions. Please do just type them in on the right-hand side. One that just came in right now is, why would the owner of the property be different from our insured?
Yeah, that's a really good question. That comes up occasionally where we run a title search and the name that's showing on title is different from what the insured is. In some cases, it may be that there was a transfer a quitclaim deed to a family member or a relative. In some cases, it may be that there was somebody got married and their name changed, or divorced and their name changed. The most common reason is that there was a recent unknown property transfer, so let's say a foreclosure or a short sale, and it may have occurred after the claims event or after the damage occurred. But if there was that transfer and it hadn't reached underwriting yet, the question comes in, was there coverage on the date of transfer? That's why in that ownership section we'll show the date and type of transfer, so you as a claims professional can match it up in underwriting to see, was there coverage in place, was there an insurable interest by your client in place at the time.
If I can interject also, the other time I see that often is with commercial property, where it could be on the policy is going to be, John Smith is who their insured is, but he's opened up a company which is 123 Main Street LLC, and that company owns that property. On the deck page, it's going to show him as an individual. So I see that comes up from time to time as well. And then it looks like we have one last question, and this is again about mortgages. Who owns a mortgage assignment?
Yeah, that's a good point. Let's say when Bank of America assigns a mortgage to Wells Fargo, officially Wells Fargo owns that mortgage. Now, in some cases, the transferring lender will retain servicing rights, so they are still receiving the payments, they still send out invoices. On the surface, as far as the borrower or the homeowners takes into account, they're still with that same original lender. But behind the scenes, the actual ownership of that mortgage is officially who is the assignee of that document, and they own that asset, that mortgage asset, 100%, even if the payments are going to somebody else. But that happens very frequently.
Perfect. I think as far as the questions go, that's all that we have that came in. So I wanted to thank you, Dave, for taking time to present today and share your knowledge with everybody. And everybody who joined us on the webinar, thank you for your time and interest in this. We have on this last slide is just some kind of common questions people ask us after the webinar, so I just wanted to put them out there now, that just the basic things, how the reports are turned back as a PDF attachment, standard turnaround time, and things. It's all on there on the slide. So thank you guys so much for your time and joining us. If you have any additional questions we didn't have a chance to get to, please feel free to email me. I think most of you have my contact information. If not, it's on the slide there. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Or we also like to get feedback from you on when you get the reports from us. Is there anything we can do to help make it more beneficial to you, whether it just be something as simple as formatting, the method we get it to you, the order the information is, just anything, any feedback like that we're always open to. So thank you all again for your time. And thank you, David, for presenting today.
I do appreciate everybody showing up. And like Dave said, if there's anything in the use of the reports that we can help with or make it easier for you to process that claim, certainly let us know. We really love helping out our colleagues in the claims adjustment industry.